So today we're going to reflect back and share some of the knowledge and learning from the fantastic Innovation Today event we held over in the West Midlands Police headquarters just a couple of weeks ago on the 27th of April. And I'm going to ask Aid, who led the team, to perhaps start off by explaining what the day was about. So Aid, over to you.
Well, that's really kind of you, David. Thank you very much. My name's Adi Hutchinson. I'm the Strategic Partnership Lead for Police Digital Services. The day was about bringing exemplar forces and suppliers together. Ultimately, 5 forces led presentations with 5 suppliers with products that we thought would allow us to inform, provide insight, influence, but most of all, inspire forces to do more and to get better. And I think, that event, the attendance and the attendees and the passion, the commitment went into that event was significant, and it really has kind of made a difference.
And again, this really reflects on the purpose of the PDS in terms of enhancing the digital capabilities, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Man landed on the moon on the 20th of July 1969. And I guess by now a lot of us thought, well, we might be living on the moon, but it never happened. And sometimes I think police IT is a bit like that, and yet in our it hasn't really delivered in the way that we thought it might. And yet home we've got things like Ring doorbells, we've got Sky Plus, etc., and we come to work and we take a step back in the main, but actually we don't need. There are some fantastic suppliers and forces that are doing things at scale, and we saw examples of those. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3 to pick up a solution and install it somewhere else. But some forces have done that. And so, our challenge really is making the best of what we've currently got. And as I say, these exemplar forces and exemplar suppliers showed us some of the great work that you can do without a huge investment in finances and without a huge investment in time. They have made a real difference.
So in today's webinar, we're going to do something slightly differently. We recorded quite a bit on the day to get the feedback. So I'm going to combine Aid and the team giving you some interactions today and some recordings from the day. And we'll start off with this little recording from the event itself.
Policing likes to think it's unique and every force is unique, but there is actually an awful lot of commonality, isn't there?
There's a huge amount of commonality, and it starts with the fact, what's policing about? Policing is about protecting people, locking up the bad guys and bring offenders to justice. That's what we do, make our communities safer.
And importantly, it's beneficial for you as a user of policing, but also for the citizen.
Yeah, because it gives them a really responsive service. I think that if you look at the perception of a force like ours, because we're primarily rural, people might expect a slower service. That's not what we aspire to deliver, and we do our best not to. So the fact that we can surmount those expectations, be really responsive and to deal with it really quickly, and give them an excellent service. The people that are taking the statements are professionalised in taking statements. We did some objective studies on statements taken by officers, statements taken by the team, scored them, and the statements taken by the team were better, generally of better quality, because it's all they do.
Yeah. So Tony's obviously talking about the solution that they shared around remote statement taking and having the evidence. But we also had Ian Bell there to explain a little bit more. So Ian spoke to Ian on the day and asked him why the event was so important.
Look, I guess for me, Dave, it's an opportunity for people not only to recognise collaboration from a PDS perspective. When we talk about people, we talk about forces, we talk about suppliers, we talk about the nature of product. And I just think there's such a distinct opportunity that we have now to think about some of the fabulous products we've got, some of the exemplar that exists within the supply chain, some of the amazing work that's happening across the forces that says, actually collectively, how do we begin to take a different approach? This event, great job by our engagement team, our comms team, to really bring together 28 forces, 5 suppliers on the basis that says, do you know what, how do you really begin to think collectively about change? And then ultimately, how does that become enhanced by, the significant place that is innovation now? And I think, for me, if we start to broaden our horizon across the basis of let's not keep answering the same old question with the with the same answer that we see. And I think, you know what, we're beginning to make a difference now. We're beginning to make some inroads because, you know, forces are beginning to share their great work, their challenges, their problems. We continue to see that consistency across the collective. So, do you know what? Let's use all that brain power to really say, right, let's challenge ourselves, let's challenge our standards, let's challenge the way that, you know, we evolve in the marketplace. But ultimately, you know, let's put new products on the table that ultimately enhance the capability of our workforce. You know, we're here to enable the front line who do a difficult job every single day. Let's think about the greater purpose that we want from information, from data, from modern infrastructure that enables a modern workforce to really begin to make a difference.
And again, one of the key differences with this event, Aid, was that it was very much force-led rather than supplier-led. And I asked Ian why that was a point of difference for the event.
Yeah, it's massive, you know, and it's really refreshing. You know, we've got some amazing skills across all of our workforces, some ridiculously bright people who are taking on tough challenges every day. But when you look at the enhancements that are now coming from the evidence we've seen, be it from Avon and Somerset, and a true, well-enhanced digitisation process that they've been through, the collective that we've just seen, from unifying comms through the control centre between Cumbria and Saab, you know, seeing forces on the front foot that are really driving that, and then using, I guess, the nature of the suppliers and the evidence that they can bring and the best practice that some of these organisations are doing on a global scale now. It really begins to show the difference, right? And what it does for me is it just encourages the optimism that we have, the capability exists in policing to make that change.
And Aid in a second will go through some of the suppliers and what we actually saw from the forces. But one last thing about the mix of attendance and the energy in the room, and I'm sure the team will reflect this in a second, was really high throughout the day. So let's have a quick look at who actually attended.
You've got yourself here as CEO of PDS. We've had the ACC from West Mids. We've got chief technology officers, but we've got IT teams and change leads. It's the mix that matters, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. You know, so we talk about 28 forces collectively being there, armed by then 5 suppliers. But we know to change the system and to create change means an emphasis of buy-in from end to end across the organisation, from the executive, from the leadership, from our professional peers, be that in our data environment, in our security, in our tech world. Ultimately, these products have to be landed well, you know, and that culture of change, of new adoption, you know, and the way that we're now beginning to see some of that occur, probably with more consistency and greater collaboration than we've ever had, really begins to encourage that actually, you know, encompassed by a refreshed digital policing strategy, as well as enhanced by some of the great local strategies we've got. You know, we referenced the Synergy product from West Midlands this morning. That's a great document for anybody to pick up and say, actually, if we're about to embed, you know, a new change ethos, a new change culture, go on a journey on that basis, that then becomes enhanced by a national product at the same point, you know what, it leaves me massively enthused for the future, Dave.
So Ian gave us quite a lot to think about during the day as we were joined by some of the other senior leaders in policing technology. But perhaps now let's get into the detail of what we actually saw from the 5 forces, which was supported by the 5 suppliers. So Aid, perhaps you could take us through, give us a quick overview.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, thank you very much to the forces and stood up and presented. I know that's a tough gig, but also think about this. We are more likely as individuals to listen to people who talk positively about the experiences they've had with the product, as opposed to some glossy sales pitch. No disrespect to the sales professionals out there, because you do an important job. However, in terms of what did we have, what did they offer, what did we learn? Well, the first one, Avon and Somerset, did a piece on ABE tapes. For those of you old enough to remember, non-digital tapes, VHS, etc. tapes. Well, for most forces, they're probably sat around gathering dust in some leaking roofed old police station, or in some forces down a salt mine. And yet years later, you may well require them for evidential purposes, and that tape snaps, you can't find it. Or in fact, where do you find a VHS cassette player to find it? Well, one company, EBC, working with Avon and Somerset, and now Devon and Cornwall, have come up with a solution where they digitize it and make that capability instantly accessible to the investigator who requires that evidence. Fantastic. David, are you happy if I go on to the second one?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Suffolk Constabulary looked at where they can use AI using a company called Future to manage a number of conversations with those communicating with them. 6 to 1, that's their ratio, and they're giving great advice, and it's proved to be accurate. You know, that's a real future. It's not taking people out of jobs, it's allowing those staff that you have got to concentrate on your priority areas and do a better job in the areas that you need to work on more effectively. Cumbria Constabulary, well, they talked about their experience with Saab, particularly around some of the vulnerability issues, identifying vulnerable victims, officers who had been at traumatic events, etc., so they could get that help, that support to them more quickly. And, you know, having been in the police service myself for 30 years, I thought it was a really, really positive thing. Devon and Cornwall, huge geographic spread with lots and lots of holidaymakers. And clearly when they do have crime, although they tell me it is a safe county, when they do have crime, there's a requirement obviously to take statements. Well, you know, how do you take a statement if that individual has left the area? And they gave us some of the metrics, around 3 hours to travel 60 miles from one location to another due to, you know, the back roads, the traffic, etc. in the summer. But if you could do that on an e-based capability, that made life a lot easier. And Adobe provided them with that functionality. West Midlands Police, they work with a company called Cloudera to better manage some of their data. Somebody a lot cleverer than me said that data is the new oil. It's the new oil. Data is the new oil. But he later refined that to say, unless you really manage it appropriately, it's just a crude oil and you can't produce anything. So Cloudera provided them with the capability to streamline their data and gain lots and lots of insights from it. And again, that's got to be the future, to understand, why do we keep getting called back to the same place? Are we just putting a sticking plaster on an open wound, as opposed to truly understanding what the issues were and better manage a professional police response? And that's a kind of whistle-stop guide through the 5 suppliers and forces that attended the event.
And Aid, it wasn't just about the front loading from the forces and the suppliers. It was really much a matter of a networking event, and we were using Slido for people to have conversations in the sidebar as well. What was the sort of theme of conversations going on throughout the day?
Well, I think the first one is the incredularity, but also the commonality of problem. You know, how have you managed to do that and we didn't know about it? We like to think that policing is a small business, but in reality, we quite often work in isolation, and that's not massively helpful. And one of the things that really touched me was, having written a lot of business cases for policing to obtain funding and resource, was the willingness of forces to actually share business cases. Incredibly generous, that the forces there were happy to share their business case with another force in order that they can build a business case far more quickly with the relevant information, documentation in, etc. And I appreciate that it varies from force to force, but if you've got somebody who's giving you a template, somebody who's giving you a load of insight, that's a massive gain. And it's for your chief officer group, it's a real reassurance if you can point to another force, another chief, another CIO, another CTO who's used this product effectively in anger and had some fantastic results, and at scale. Because let's not forget, this was not about proof of concept. This was about whole scale integration of a system or a service within an entire constabulary or force.
And that was one of the key points of learning before I come to Gemma and the business engagement team. These were about everyday problems in policing, and the innovation was the method they've gone around tackling them. And obviously a lot of that was transferable between other forces. And that was kind of the point of the day. Gemma, what can forces do to support innovation?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, so in organising this event and speaking with everyone who attended on the day, it became clear that, you know, innovation is happening up and down the country. There's lots going on, lots of different things in terms of structures and processes, but innovation is clearly happening. This event, as we've discussed here already, showcased just a handful of those examples, but we know so much more is going on. So really our first ask is for forces to get involved. We are going to be running more of these events, so look out for information that's coming. And if you want to, you know, showcase something, if you think you've got something within your force, let us know. and we can get you involved. But most importantly, attend these events and, you know, speak to other forces and find out what they're doing, and come and have a look at this, you know, the great innovation that's going on. Also, let us know what you want to see from these events. So, you know, this covered a range of technology and a range of suppliers, but do we want to focus on proof of concepts? Do we want to look at thematics as an area of interest? So tell us really what you think and what you want us to provide for you at these events. But on more of a day-to-day basis, we just want to really hear about the innovation that's happening and that, you know, that we know is out there. So share your successes with us. But also, just as importantly, share the failures. If you're innovating, there will be things that don't work and that will fail, and you can get the learning from that. And actually, that learning helps other forces as well. So we really want to hear about everything that's going on. I'm going to hand over to Esther now. She's going to just tell us about those mechanisms to share, you know, that forces can use to share all those things with us.
Yeah, so thanks, Gemma. There are several mechanisms really. So first of all, contact your business engagement managers. So Rich, Rachel, Gemma, Russ, or myself. Each force has got a dedicated business engagement manager. We're always reaching out and speaking to people in the forces in our regions, and we're happy and interested to hear about what you're looking at, what areas of innovation you're interested in. Business engagement managers, we have set up a series of regional meetings starting earlier in the year in January. We're now in the second cycle of meetings. So we set up and facilitate these, and it's a great place for forces, neighbouring forces, to come together, but also to give feedback at these meetings, so we collate output, so we get more of the national picture. After we have these meetings, as a team, we get together and we discuss this and have a look at a regional view, and we look to align what's happening locally and nationally and regionally, and see how we can influence that approach, be that input we give to MPTC about what forces are looking at or other mechanisms. PDS also has a strategy and innovation strand and a dedicated innovation manager, Matt Worley, who can help you. So contact us. We'll put you in touch. As well as that, there's the contact form on the website. Please do complete that. That comes to us and our team, and every one is answered. But either way, whatever mechanism you use, we are keen to hear from you about what innovation is going on and how PDS can support you in that journey, whether it's AI, digital twins, video analytics, whatever it is you are looking at. There are massive opportunities to improve the way we're doing things using the tech available today. Demand is only going to increase in areas such as fraud and contact. And so the best way we can see of supporting forces to do that is to use that tech to get the most that you can out of the staff and the resources that you've got. So yeah, that's it, Dave. Really, the ask is please do come and talk to us.
And it's really important, this is because it helps with the deduplication of work that's been done in other forces, and there's a business engagement team. We come together and share the knowledge so we can actually get people connected together. That's what's work's been done since we did the GMP event in October, where we brought like-minded forces together to actually help change things that are happening. So, hey, back to yourself. Before, I don't think we've had any questions, and if anybody who did attend would like to give us some feedback through the comments and questions, please do so. But what did forces take away and from the event, and what are you hoping to see next from the forces themselves?
In terms of what did people take away, apart from those chocolate bars, which should have gone with me, there was the networks and the contacts, business cases where necessary, and they also gained insight into grounded, evidence-based approaches which forces had used to solve what are actually largely generic problems. I mean, I can bet you a pound to a penny, just about every force in this country has got bucket loads and bucket loads of VHS cassettes sat about just degrading. It might not be a problem for you, but it might be a problem in 5 years' time when you get a DNA hit you weren't expecting, and you need to go back to that tape to discover you got no tape player to play it, got nobody else to operate that tape player if you do have one, or you know, you've got no way of then digitizing that capability or referencing it or indeed finding it. I think people also got a strong view that PDS is there to support them. We are a support mechanism, and our engagement managers who've been called out already will work, you know, tirelessly to help you and have a great understanding of what's going on across the UK. So if you have a problem or a challenge within your professional environment, contact them. Likely is they will know somebody who's gone through those issues, or indeed wants to go through them with you to help you look for a common solution. And then finally, I think for me, there was the growing realization that there are companies and services and suppliers out there that can provide you with the sort of capability you're used to, having in your home and domestic lives, that your commercial or personal business life should not be worse just because you come to work. You should have the Sky Plus experience when you come to work, and there is no reason why you can't. And I think working with really great exemplar suppliers and working it as a collective, policing can improve. And I think we've seen examples of that, and we'll continue to see examples of that. And, the next event, I think, will probably be in November. I'll be delighted to see you there because we have places. It will be free. It will be a great event. And once again, if you've got an exemplar supplier that you're really proud of the things you've achieved, please contact us. Or indeed you want to host it. And again, we will fund it, we will organise it. Your involvement will be as minimal as you want, or as busy as you want, your choice.
And before I get to a comment from Leonard, one of the really important points here is that it was proven evidence-based innovation rather than concepts. And I think that's it was very tangible what we got out of the day. What sort of things and what do you want to see more of? Is it use of everyday products or new products? Is it a bit of both?
I think there's an element of both. It really, I think we're all probably taxpayers that are attending this event and these events, and it's really frustrating if a product has 5 features and you're paying for those 5 features and you're only using 3 and can rinse so much more out of that product. That's about customer success. It's about doing more with what we've got and then subsequently asking for more, having demonstrated that we're doing absolutely everything we can with the product we've currently got.
We've had a comment in from Len, who's one of our regular viewers every week. Thanks, Len. Innovation is such a wide-reaching term and may inhibit forces from identifying things they want to highlight to others. Could we break innovation down into broad survey themes, and is it possible to have a new survey? But also, does this relate to the work that's ongoing around the strategy refresh as well?
I think it does. The strategy refresh, not rewrite, because I think that's important. The strategy refresh will publish, if everything goes to plan, in September at the PDS NPCC Summit, which will be in Brighton, 12th to 14th of September. Again, limited number of free places per force. I think it does. I think in terms of how we go on in the future with innovation, it's quite possible we will go thematic in our approach. Alternatively, sometimes it's quite nice to be quite eclectic in your approach. And I think we demonstrated that this time. I think in terms of innovation for me and where PDS go as a company, we will probably be concentrating on trying to improve services or IT capability for the critical mass. If you can save 10 minutes per officer or police staff member per day, that's an awful lot of time, people and opportunity to serve the public more effectively. So I think that's where we're going to be concentrating on, dealing with and supporting the critical mass.
Now, Aid, I know we've heard a lot from you today, but I'm going to end with a video recording from the end of the day where we're just finishing it and we just wanted to capture our reflections from the day at the time. So let's just have a listen back to what we said as the event was ending a couple of weeks ago.
So what's the plans for the future sorts of these events? More force-led but supplier partnership events?
I like to think that we've got a really strong supplier and force partnership, and that PDS, part of our role is to bring those bodies together. So we're looking for forces to hold these events. They are low cost, high impact.
And in terms of innovation, we've put a slider in there asking people what were the barriers. I think today's been about how we can break down those barriers, hasn't it?
Very, very much so. From the point of view of the West Midlands executive, talking about how a good business case is presented to them, how if you align it to an organisation's challenges, often money or resource or time can be found. And it's about helping people innovate at pace, iterate, but also just share good practice.
That's fantastic, thanks Aid. So today's been all about, we've had 28 forces, over 70 people involved in this event. Fantastic exchange, the energy, the event ended about 15-20 minutes ago and there's still lots of people talking to each other and exchanging ideas, and that's the value of these sort of events.